Welcome back, citizens, to another episode of Enter the Ultraverse Card Review. Today, I did go ahead and open up an Astral Alliance pack. However, unfortunately, that footage was corrupted. But I do want to go through and talk through some of the keywords from the cards that we pulled. Fortunately or unfortunately for me, there was nothing super rare that we picked up, but I do have several things I'd like to talk through. So without further delay, let's get into today's card review. Alright, and here we are back in my card collection. We can see these last 7 cards are from the pack that we just opened. Got 3 Void Priest cards and 3 Spacers because it was an Astral Alliance pack. Unfortunately, the neutral card that we pulled, Dozer, is one that we've already talked through, so we're not going to be talking through that again today. But we will get started with Ancient Citadel, which is a Void Priest card. This is a 2-spirit cost for a rare support card. Support cards, again, don't interact with the board directly. They indirectly affect the game in different ways, and in this case, you can see the effect whenever you deplete cards, gain 1 madness. Okay, so this gets to the core mechanic of what it is to be a Void Priest. So to talk a little bit about that, I want to jump over really fast to Rogrash's Void Priest section in his design overview. So again, I'll have that linked in the video description. But here we see the main piece to the Void Priest lore is this faith and madness dynamic, where you have the faith piece of it being gained through different ceremonies and different types of creatures that you can play, and the madness also being gained through playing void monstrosities or different acts of depletion that will gain madness. Now, this is put into play through a scale of dedication and mentality going to 10 in either direction. So the more you go into one direction of dedication in the faith side of things or mentality in the madness side of things, different effects are going to get triggered. It's going to interact with your deck in different ways. So depending on what type of deck you build, you're either going to want to go more towards the madness and mentality side of the Void Priest faction, or you're going to want to go more of a faith-based deck and do more of a dedication side and get some of those perks that we assume are going to be a part of that scale. Don't know what those are going to be right now, but it's going to be a core central piece to the Void Priest class. So if we go back and look at this Ancient Citadel card again, support with the effect whenever you deplete cards, gain 1 madness. So what does it mean to deplete a card? A depletion effect in the game is where the act of depletion removes 1 card from your deck and puts it directly into the graveyard. So if you're depleting one of your own cards, you're going to pull a card out of your deck. It's not going to go into your hand. It's going to go directly into the graveyard. And vice versa, if you were to deplete an enemy's card, one of their cards from their deck would be pulled out, put directly into the graveyard. So several cards in the Void Priest class are going to have that effect. But if you play one of those effects while you have Ancient Citadel support card up, you're going to gain 1 madness, which if we look back at the video over here, you already gain a madness by performing an act of depletion. So I'm assuming this is going to be a second madness point for every depletion. So if you were to deplete 3 cards instead of gaining 3 madness, now that when you have Ancient Citadel played, that would be a total of 6 madness that you would gain, which would push you much more further in the mentality side of this scale for the Void Priest mechanic. So I think this card definitely has some potential. We'll see exactly once more of the scale is known and the perks you get from it, how powerful it's going to be. But I think this definitely has potential to see some play. All right, let's keep going with the Void Priest. We'll come over to Worm Call, and then we'll do Spacers later. So Worm Call is a common spell with 3 spirit cost, and the effect is summon 2 lesser worms. Lesser worms being a couple of tokens, so this is going to be more for a token deck or an aggressive deck that wants to get several bodies and go wide out on the board. Many decks like that in different games are very popular and can be pretty strong, so if you see any Void Priest token or aggro decks, this will probably be very common in it. And our last Void Priest card for today is another spell. It's a 1-cost common spell called Third Eye, and its effect is choose a target creature. It and your citizen heal 3, gain 2 faith. So again, this is going to be the other side of the Void Priest mechanic. You have Madness on one end of the scale and Faith on the other end, going towards Dedication. So if you're playing more of a Faith Dedication based deck, you're going to be playing a card more like this, where you're gaining 2 Faith for 1 Spirit. On top of that, you're healing a creature and your Citizen for 3. So a lot going on for 1 Spirit. Seems to be fairly powerful. Well, again, as always, have to see how it plays out once we see a full deck list and gameplay. Alright, so that's it for the Void Priest from this pack. Let's take a look at our spacers. So the first spacer card we have here is Free Agent, effect token. So I think this card probably still has some work going on. We'll have to see how that updates as they get closer to game time. It's a common human assassin. So my understanding of how the assassin works is it essentially, when put into play, you can choose an enemy creature to instantly kill. That seems fairly strong, which is probably why they still don't have a spirit cost for it. They're probably trying to balance and see exactly how what sort of cost they want associated with it. And with it, not only do you have that assassin effect, but you get a 6/3 body on the board as well. Seems fairly powerful. 6 attack is also more than likely going to kill another creature in 1 shot, but with only 3 health, it will probably be the only other creature it will have the ability to kill. Also, any removal effects, 3 health is not very much, so any single target, low power removal cards will probably be able to take care of the body. But if the assassin effect is what I'm imagining that it is, it's still fairly powerful. Next spacer card is the Spore Canister. So this is a 2 spirit cost common spell, and the effect is summon 3 Sporelings. So again, another type of a token card. Token decks typically are a staple of aggressive style play. Getting 3, what I assume to be 1/1 Sporelings on the board for 2 spirit can be very, very strong early game, especially if you have some buff cards to back it up. So we'll see how popular this card becomes. And our final card for today is the Funk Grenade, a 3 spirit rare spell with the effect Entangle target creature. It deals damage to one of its neighbors. Okay, so this seems like a pretty good effect. For 3 spirit, I would think this is pretty strong. So the Entangle effect essentially roots that target creature in place. They cannot attack for the next turn, essentially making their attack mute, and unless they have a taunt, you can essentially ignore it with your creatures for that next turn if you would like. So you get that effect for 3 spirit, but also it's going to deal its damage to one of its neighbors. So my guess is you would want to use this spell targeting a fairly large creature from your opponent's board, one for it to lose tempo and not have a chance to attack the next turn, but also if it has high attack, it's going to essentially one-shot one of the creatures that are next to it, and so you get a high probability of not only rooting a creature and stealing its tempo for the next turn, but also eliminating one of the creatures that are next to it. So again, for 3 spirit, seems fairly strong. All right, and like I said, our Dozer neutral card is one that we've seen before, so we're not going to really talk about that today. But that's going to wrap up this quick recap of the cards. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get the card reveal, but hopefully next time we'll see that card reveal live and hopefully pull something very rare. Still waiting on an Ultra. Hopefully we can pull it. How many of you have pulled an Ultra? What's been your favorite card so far, or favorite mechanic we've talked about? I'd love to hear down in the comments. Okay, citizens, enjoy your day, and I'll see you next time.